and I wanted to come to you today with a quick message about the seventh framework or mental framework that I think is useful for social innovators and social entrepreneurs. Yesterday, I talked about the 6 different frameworks that would be useful for social innovators. And as I started thinking about those and was reflecting on those after that live session, I realized that there's one more that I want to share with you. And so I'm going to share that here today. So the 7th framework for social innovators and social entrepreneurs that I think is really useful. It's a way of thinking that differs, and I'm going to compare it in this case to design thinking, is actually marketing thinking, right? And it's not a formal name for the way of thinking about it, but it is what I've noticed to be the thought process and the methodology that marketers use to do the work that they do and to do it well. And let me just compare and contrast that with design thinking real quick, just so you understand how you might deploy it and how it might be different. So design thinking as a discipline is focused on empathy first, which really means I need to understand the people that I'm trying to serve, the people that I'm designing for. Otherwise, I might end up coming up with the wrong solution and defining the wrong problem in the first place. From there, I prototype something, I build something out, and then I test whether that thing that I built out works. But I spend a good amount of time in the empathy phase, the understanding the problem phase, and then the defining of that problem. Is this the right thing to offer, right? Marketing as a focus or marketing methodologies also have a bit of empathy up front, but it definitely inverts the pyramid as far as where the time and energy is spent. So whereas with design thinking, people are focused on understanding deeply the people that you're serving. You're having conversations with them. You're maybe observing them over a long period of time. You're putting yourself in their shoes and simulating what it's like to go through things as them. When it comes to marketing, you spend a bit of time understanding the people that you're trying to serve, getting a general idea for the challenge that they face, but then you actually spend a lot of time deploying prototypes and experiments out into the market to understand what resonates with people, with other people. The way that you measure, though, what's successful and what's not successful is based on the clicks, the data, the quantitative data that you're going to receive back from the experiment that you're running. So an example of that would be if I want to see whether an ad that I'm putting out, we'll just say it's an ad, is going to be successful or not, I might deploy that and then see what the response is. How many people click on it based on how many people see it? What are the likes and the comments and the responses to the ad itself? The same thing could be true though for a website, right? Maybe I'm putting together my website. I'm trying to communicate what my mission and my vision are. If I were to use design thinking as the methodology, I would take that website and I would first, I would start before even creating the website to understand what do people think about this mission and this vision, these ideas, these concepts. What do they think is really important for me and my organization to be doing? Based on what's interesting to me and what's interesting to them, I would then craft a mission and vision statement, and then I would test that and get some feedback. Using marketing as the approach, I might come up with multiple mission and vision statements based on what I think might work, right? And the limited knowledge I have of the people that I'm trying to serve. And I'm going to deploy those to tens of thousands of people, right? So maybe I have 5 different mission statements. I'm going to put those in front of tens of thousands of people, and I'm going to check to see what do they think of those statements? Which ones resonate the most? If I'm putting these on a landing page or a website, which ones lead to people scrolling through the website more or clicking on more links on my website or learning more information about what it is that I offer. As a marketer, right, or someone who's thinking using marketing as the basic framework, you can come up with what your metrics are to track what is successful and what isn't successful. But the big point here that I just wanted to emphasize is that sometimes you can spend time having conversations, and that's how you're going to get the answer to what you need to create. But there are other times where, especially when your social venture is in the later stages where you're trying to scale, you're trying to reach lots of people, and you're looking for ways to understand how many people feel about what it is that you're creating. This marketing approach where you put together a number of possible prototypes, which still has some rooting in the design thinking process. You put those prototypes together based on the limited empathy knowledge that you have about the problem or a hunch that you have, and then you test them repeatedly using marketing tools and software in order to see what really resonates well with others, right? So a lot of our work as social entrepreneurs and social innovators is sort of in the back office part of it, right? So there's the direct service work where you're upfront with people and you need to make sure that what you're offering makes sense for them. But then there's the back office type work, the stuff where it's like, is my website functioning properly, right? Are people actually getting to understand who I am? Have I built a website in the first place? How am I framing the offers that I have, the services that I have? Is the language written in a way where people understand it or not? Right? You might have the best product in the world, the best service in the world, the best offering in the world, the thing that can help people move themselves out of poverty. But if you can't communicate it properly, then you can't actually reach the people that you're trying to serve well. And this marketing approach, this, come up with some ideas and test those with lots of people approach, I found is a useful way of thinking at times when you are trying to make sure that some of that back office stuff is doing what it's supposed to be doing. And you instead are looking at data rather than direct quotes and feedback directly from people. I want to just close this out by saying that I think all of these frameworks, the one that I went over today and the 6 that I went over yesterday, if you missed that episode, please do go back and watch it, are all useful when deployed at the right times. They're all useful as we move through the different challenges we face as innovators. And there are organizations that are built up primarily using each of the ones that I've mentioned so far. So an example of a company that I think largely uses this sort of marketing approach, or many companies that do, are a lot of the tech companies that we see out in the world right now. So Google actually doesn't do a great job, to me, on the design thinking front. They don't do a really great job of hearing the direct verbal feedback about things, or at least gathering that. But they do seem to use the data that they capture from how people use things, where they click, what gets them to scroll more, etc., to alter their products. And just like any other framework or mindset, I think that they can be used for good or they can be used for evil. They can be used for good or they can be used to not benefit the world necessarily or not benefit other people. That's 100% up to you how you're going to use it. But I think that keeping these frameworks in mind, and this marketing one as well, is a useful way for us as social innovators to make sure that we are making the impact in the world that we can make. So that's what I have for you today on Social Impact Live. I will be back tomorrow with another episode. Tomorrow is Gratitude Sunday, so I'll be giving thanks to someone who helped me get to where I am as a social innovator in life, and I encourage you to do the same. Please tune in for that because I think it's always a good opportunity to give people their flowers while they're still here. All right, I'll see you then.